Members, we will now start the election of chairman for the panel on environmental affairs for the 2023 legislative session. The secretary has issued notices to members as at the close of the nomination period. We received just one valid nomination. The member nominated is Ms. Elizabeth Kwok. She is nominated by Mr. Tony Tse and seconded by Mr. Stephen Ho. Ms. Kwok is not the chairperson or deputy chairperson of another panel or any government advisory body. Under the rules of procedure and House rule, I declare that Ms. Elizabeth Kwok is the chairperson of the panel on environmental affairs for this legislative session. Congratulations, Ms. Kwok. Members, thank you for your support. Let's get started with the election of the deputy chairperson for this panel. The secretary has issued a notice informing members that as at the close of the nomination for deputy chairperson, one valid nomination was received. The member is Mr. Kenneth Lau. He's nominated by Dr. Lo Wai Kwok and seconded by Ms. Chen Yut-ming. Mr. Lau is not the chair or deputy chair of any other panel or any government advisory body. Under the rules of procedure and House rules, I declare that Mr. Kenneth Lau is elected the deputy chairperson of this panel. We move on to the second item on the agenda. The meeting dates for the 2023 legislative session. The proposed date have been tabled. That's the fourth Monday of every month, 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. For some dates, they fall on public holidays. The Secretariat has been identifying alternative dates. Please note those dates. January 23rd, that's a public holiday, so we will do the meeting on January 30th, 10:35 instead. Any comments from members? If there's no objection, we will have that date. For December 30th, we will do that on October 30th at 2:30 p.m. instead. If members have no comments, we will fix that date. And December 25th, that's also a public holiday, like being Christmas. So we will have the meeting on December 11th at 10:30 instead. So those are the changes to our regular meetings. The third item on the agenda, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next meeting will be on January 30th at 10:45 a.m. The government has proposed two items for discussion. First, improvement measures for Northeast New Territories landfill and establishing a Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area Air Quality Laboratory and Meteorological Monitoring Super Site in Hong Kong. Do we agree that we will discuss those two items? No objection. We're just around a week away from our meeting in January. If members have other items in mind, we will put that in the list of items for discussion. And then we can talk about the work plan for the 2023 legislative session. The deputy chair and I will meet with the Secretary for Environment and Ecology. Members, if you have any ideas about the items for discussion, please let me know. 3 members would like to speak. 4, in fact, Ms. Carmen Kan, Mr. Gary Zhang, Mr. Stephen Ho, and Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. 1 minute for each member. Ms. Carmen Kan. 2 points. Energy supply and energy security. Do we have alternative energy sources, collaboration with the Greater Bay Area, diversifying energy sources, etc., and scheme of control agreement the midterm review for the scheme of control agreement with the two power companies. I would like to see those on our list of items for discussion. Mr. Gary Zhang, please. Now, for the Northern Metropolis, the government proposed resuming some land, wetlands, such as fish ponds for conservation. For the scope, progress, and expected expenditure, can we have an update on those items, please? Mr. Stephen Ho, there are recent media reports saying that between spring and summer, the wastewater from Fukushima power plant will be discharged into the sea. At the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene, I raised this point. The Japanese government provided 50 billion yen in subsidy for the fisheries sector. Can we talk to the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene? We need to talk about the impact of the Japanese government's action and proposals for our fisheries trade. Do we go through our panel, or do we go through the Office of the High Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? We need to find a way. Just then, Mr. Gary Zhang mentioned the management of fish ponds in the Northern Metropolis. Now, affected is also the freshwater fish farms and also the impact of migratory birds. But the AFCD and the EEB focus on conservation alone. When you have migratory birds, they also affect the existence of certain fish species. They also affect freshwater fish farms. So how do we demarcate the scopes? So can we talk to the panel on food safety and environmental hygiene? Can we have a joint committee, or what other ways can we do? Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Last week, I moved a motion on promoting green transport. It was passed by the Legislative Council. Two government bureaus pledged to follow up. Green transport involves collaboration of more than one bureau. This takes the Transport Logistics Bureau and the EEB. The two panels from the last legislative session held a joint meeting. The EEB and the TLB were invited to attend the meeting. It worked. I propose that for this legislative session, we should have another joint meeting to follow up on the matters falling under the purview of the two bureaus. The Secretary for Environment and Ecology said on multiple occasions that he will lead an interdepartmental task force on legislation to drive the use of hydrogen cell fuel and new energy vehicles. So can we get the EEB to give us an update on that front? And for the recycling trade, this is close to our heart. How do we promote our local recycling trade? The recycling of the batteries for electric vehicles, local manufacturing. The environment park has been around for years. So how is it working? The eco park, rather. So can we have an update and a review on how it works? Mr. Frankie Yek. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chen raised something I was about to say. For the recycling of the batteries of electric vehicles, can the government show us plans and a timetable for recycling? Now, for certain batteries, we have a plan to deal with those used batteries. But we also have granted export permits under the Basel Agreement. No member state should export those used batteries. But now we're actually encouraging the export while we have the capacity to deal with these batteries. So will the Bureau handle this? Just then, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong mentioned new energy vehicles. Apart from electric vehicles, we also have methanol and also ammonia on top of hydrogen cell fuel. What plans does the government have? to promote the use of these new energy sources. In the policy address, it says that some electric vehicles will hit the road, but there's a fare hike among public transport. But where will the money come from for investment in the new energy transport? What will be done? The mainland is successful because they made a huge effort. But what will we do? Mr. Gary Chen, 2 points for discussion this year. I've been promoting new energy public transport. The government's policy is to encourage the replacement with new energy vehicles. But few public transport operators actually buy new energy vehicles. So in terms of public policy, how can we get more people to use new energy vehicles? For these vehicles, they are aging, especially for electric private cars. Now we have to think about the lithium batteries. So what will be done in terms of following up on disused lithium batteries? Power bills are going up. We have a monopoly by the two power companies. It's time for us to think about our fuel mix. Can we make greater use of nuclear power or more green sources? Dr. Junius Ho. There are so many key issues we need to address. But I'm afraid that we may be losing focus. That's why earlier at this panel, I asked the Environment and Ecology Bureau to show us where the money is spent on. More than $10 billion is given to the EEB every year. How's the results for the food waste initiative and for the levy scheme on glass containers, on plastics, on waste paper, on landfill? For all those initiatives, how much waste goes to the landfill? How do incinerators work? And for sludge, how much power is generated with the sludge? We need to see a macro plan. And then we get a clearer picture in terms of how things are working. Mr. Stephen Ho speaking for the second round. Petroleum prices are on the high side. Even over the past few years, it has been rising. It's at $22 or $23 now. So we proposed lower taxes. This is my personal opinion. Lower taxes to take pressure off people. And for marine fueling spot, offshore fueling spot, the offshore fueling spots are more costly than the onshore ones. There's a lack of competition of these offshore fueling stations. Are these offshore fueling spots also under the purview of the EEB? We have a competition commission, but it's a toothless tiger. We need to talk about this at this panel this year. I'm going to propose to the Secretary for Environment and Ecology something. Apart from new energy vehicles, we also want to talk about new energy vessels and also its use in aviation, sustainable aviation. I don't see any government plans yet. But in the mainland, many aircraft are already using sustainable fuel. These are biomass fuel. To remain in aviation hub, Hong Kong will need to consider using SAF for sustainable aviation fuel. Otherwise, the mainland planes arriving here won't be able to refuel, but I don't see any government plan on this front yet. We will be working with the panel on transport to talk to the government so that we may have joint panel meetings to talk about development on this front to keep our status as an aviation hub. Now, for the handling batteries, this is something close to our heart. Lead acid batteries and also the batteries for electric vehicles. There's a pressing need to deal with those used batteries. I will be talking to the Secretary for Environment and Ecology about this, so that hopefully we can discuss them this year. There are many items for discussion. We may have to extend some meetings so that we may have 3 items at a meeting, or when you have a major item, we can do joint panel meetings. We may have additional meetings to cover so much ground. So please bear with us if we do extra long meetings or additional meetings. Some members propose more site visits to different eco-friendly facilities. I will talk to the Secretary for Environment and Ecology about this as well. Last year, we talked to the Secretary about the possibility of study tours post-COVID. We will try to arrange a visit outside Hong Kong. We will have 2 waste-to-energy facilities. We need to find out how are things coming along on that front. For new energy transport, other cities are seeing rapid development in those areas. So we may be able to visit those places to learn from their experience. So I will talk to the Secretary to see what we can arrange. If we do manage to arrange visits, please participate in. If there are few people taking part in those visits, and that wouldn't be so good. And any other business? That's the next item on the agenda. If there's no any other business, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.